All right, knife guys. Today we got a bargain knife coming your way, and I think we're gonna like it. I have high hopes for it. It was quite inexpensive. I want to say $27, 29. I think it was like $27.16 or something like that with tax. While we're talking here, I'll pull up my orders from the Amazons, and so this is the Sitivien. It's the ST128. It's D2 blade, G10, liner lock. Blade length is, well, we'll get into that in a minute. I think it's around almost 3.5 inches. It's a good size knife, but it is an EDC knife. It's another one made in China. But what it cost me is $24.99. When you add in Prime, I guess sales tax or whatever, it was like $27 shipped to my house. 27 bucks, why not? Let's give it a look. Box, microfiber, simple. Don't expect to get a lot in the box for a $27 knife. You're not gonna get premium packaging for that. So what do we got? Well, okay, it is a liner lock. G10 looks good, a little jimping on the back, nothing sharp. Deep carry pocket clip, looks like tip up only, and it is not reversible. So sorry, lefties. Tension's okay. It's a little weaker than a lot. It's not bad. I think it'll be just fine holding it in there, but that's actually, I'm not a fan of super heavy springs. I mean, you want the security, but depending on how abrasive or grippy the handle is, you know, it can do wear and tear in your pocket. That's about as light as I would want. I'm sure that'll be comfortable. It won't be falling out of my pocket, but it's not as good as like that one. So pocket clip is a little light. Now, you could take off those 2 screws and bend it if you wanted to increase the tension. So those things don't bother me. I don't tend to knock it. If I get one that's got a crazy powerful spring, I just bend it a little and take the tension off till it's where I want. Gives me the security of it staying in my pocket, but then doesn't, fly out anywhere. So this is thumb stud only, no flipper. I mentioned it's a liner lock. Oh, action's good. Let's just wipe fingerprints and any oil off the thing real quick. Give it a once over. Haven't played with it yet, obviously, as this is an unboxing. I brought some knives out to compare and talk about it a little bit. And it's almost a Sebenza-ish shape. Kind of weird. But, it's another Chinese blade. The D2, people are like, is it real D2? Every knife that I've seen, that has been tested and reviewed, a lot of them have actually sent it off and tested it. And it is legit D2, and it's a good hardening. So, these companies are cranking out decent stuff. So, feels good in the hand. Little bit of a hot spot on that. I might bend that down just a wee bit. It depends on how you grab it. If I grab it here, then it's pushing into this ridge right here in my hand. So if I hold it back, if I move my hand up just a little bit, then it's in the crease and I don't feel it. In fact, right there, I don't even feel it at all. So you just adjust your grip. It's not going to be as nice as some. It's a big pocket clip. I mean, when you look at physically the size of it, it's just a very big pocket clip. It probably doesn't need to be that big, but maybe they thought it didn't look proportional. If it was made, shorter like that and sat a little closer to the knife. So it's not the best pocket clip, but it's not bad. I mean, it's average. It's average at best. Edge feels okay. Does it cut? Yeah. Probably need a new slice of paper. Oh, all right. I'm going to need to deburr that edge. It cuts, but that edge might be a little crooked, so if you don't catch it at the right angle, it tears. I doubt it's going to do a push test. Really wish I had a fresh slice of paper here. Yeah, it's not doing a push test, at least not on that. Well, there it did. So the edge is workable. I mean, it'll cut, but I'm going to take it to the strop when I'm done and just keen it up a little bit. Deburr it, just make sure it's straight. So not a big deal there. Do I like it? Yeah, it feels good in the hand. Let's go over the overall dimensions here. So blade is a 3.5-inch blade. It's a good sized blade. You know, if I was to do a size comparison and say, you know, what is this the equivalent of? I would say it would have to be a PM2. It's about that size. Blade shape's just a little different, but I'd consider it an alternative to that. It's bigger than Sebenza's. It's bigger than, you know, my Sitivien riffles and stuff like that. It's about maybe, yeah, just a little bit bigger than that. My Kaiser Towser K, which, by the way, all the knives I've got, including knives costing hundreds of dollars, this is the best, smoothest action of any knife I've ever owned. The way they did the bearings and just this Kaiser Towser K, it is just so wicked fast and smooth. Amazing action. So where were we? So we've got 3.5-inch blade. The cutting edge is actually just over 3.5 inches. So that blade is probably 3.6 or so. The cutting edge is literally, yeah, it's over the 3.5. The cutting edge is over 3.5 inches. So it's a good. This is on the big side of EDC. Overall length 8 and 8.6, 8.7. So under 9. You know, just under 8 3/4. This is probably more on size with the Ontario Rat 1, which I don't have, so I don't have a way to do a size comparison side by side. Blade centering is pretty much dead on. Action is very sweet. The lock is, it's easy to get to. It's actually got a little bit machine jimping there, so it's quite easy to get that. A lot of knives, you know, a lot of times these things are really set in and you got to kind of mush your finger in there or use your thumbnail, which then if you don't have a thumbnail, it becomes harder to kind of, you know, grab that and push that in. But this has a very generous cutout. Cutout is there for the thumb stud, but then also hitting that is very easy. So you got a really generous cutout. You got good leverage. I'm getting like a good section of my thumb on that to very easily move that out of the way and give it a drop. So once you're past the detent, yeah, it's not as that thing falls in, but that could probably just be adjusted. This does use, I believe it's using ball bearings. Yeah, there's no tiny bit of blade flex, but there's no wobble in that. Nice solid lockup. I would say that frame or the liner lock, it's not the strongest lock. It's a fairly thin piece of steel, but it goes in there nice. And I would say that, you know, for most cutting tasks, if you had to stab into something, unless you're doing something like just really being a goon with it, you're probably not going to have an issue with that lock. But yeah, that's, you know, I would say if I had to say what, you know, it's almost like a Rat 1 from Ontario and a Sebenza clone combined. I kind of see elements of both of those knives here. Uses standard, I think there's a T8 Torx bits. You got a little machining on your pivot. Looks nice. Everything else is stainless steel. There is some skeletonization in there. Some lightening that they've done. So for a good sized knife, it's not that heavy. It's 137 grams, so 4.85 ounces. So it's heavier, but for a knife that big, I mean, that's a big ass knife. That's not a lot of weight. You know, obviously it's gonna be more than, you know, something small like an Elementum or a Benchmade bug out or something. You notice the weight. It's a little more than the PM2. Yeah, it's about an ounce or so heavier than the PM2. The PM2 is lighter, for sure. It's more in line with something like that, the Sitivien riffle. I've got a new Sitivien coming later today, and I grabbed this. I should have grabbed I should have grabbed the brand, this other brand of knives. I grabbed my Sitivens because I forgot which one was coming first. I was opening. There's a Sitivien coming today that might turn out to be the best Sitivien I've ever owned. I have very high hopes for it, so stay tuned for that. But you know, it just goes back to this whole, you can get a lot of knife for your money. It's nice G10. The edges are all consistent. It's not like big gap here and small gap there. The edges are very consistent. All these edges are chamfered. They're all radius. There are no sharp edges. You get your lanyard hole, which you don't care about. The G10 is machined nicely. The pocket clip is very deep. It's very long. It's large. It is, I mean, you're going to leave a little bit sticking out of your pocket. It's going to be the tip, just the tip. It's not going to be as deep carry as any of these. Yeah, those are all really deep. So it's deep-ish, but you're going to see the tip poking out. So not as discreet, and given its size, you know, it won't be to the go-to for a lot of people as far as everyday carry. But I'll tell you, that is, I mean, if you want, you know, a cheap, nice working knife, it's got, you know, decent D2 steel. You got nice G10. It's styled nice. The action's pretty sweet. You got some jimping up here and a little bit of ramp there, so you actually can, that gives you some decent traction. That's good jimping. I'm going to give them really high scores on that. That's good jimping because it's not giant and exaggerated, but it does with that little bit of ramp, and it's just enough traction where your thumb really does get some grip on it without it chewing the shit out of your thumb. So kudos to them for that. But that's a nice big beefy blade. It's less than $30 shipped to your house. I mean, for $27, you're like, how bad can it be? And that is just what is amazing to me. These are gas station knife prices, but these are not gas station knives. If this was made by, I'm trying to think of who makes knives still in the U.S. This is going to be on par with, like, you know, Case has some new knives, or you know, Buck. If Buck made this knife, it'd be $90. It'd be $100, somewhere in that range. This is $27 with taxes shipped to your door in 48 hours. I don't see how you can go wrong with these things. God, that thing is just so damn sweet. That action is just, whoop, man. So anyway, that is the ST128. I give it thumbs up. If you want a larger knife, that's going to be big for some people. I mean, a lot of people consider EDC, you know, to be these smaller knives. We got to, whoops, I'm never as good at the front flipping. Especially when it's a small knife. There we go. You know, some people are going to think these are more like EDC size, or, you know, maybe something that's in the mid size like that. This is going to be on, this is the big boy. This is going to be big, but it's not as big as some of those Grow, like the Microtech clones and stuff, where those things are just tanks. This is on the large size, but if you're of a mind of an Ontario Rat 1, you might say, well, for the extra $8, just get the Ontario Rat. Maybe. I mean, where's the Ontario Rat made? That's considered like an awesome bargain EDC knife. I want to say that one's made in China as well. I'll have to look that one up. Fact check me on that. But yeah, it's good ergos. It sits in the hand nice. It's not heavy. It's heavier than some of these, but that's a good knife. I would give this a thumbs up. I would like to see the pocket clip a little bit stronger out of the box, but that again can be adjusted yourself. It's just nice when you don't have to dick around with it. And for me, it would be nice if that corner right there was just a little more radiused and just a little, just tapered down a tiny bit. That angle of it poking up, that's where you feel the hot spot if your grip is in certain positions. That's easily fixable. And I say, well, you shouldn't have to fix it. Well, again, you may try it and your hand is different, so you don't feel it. You know, if your hand's thicker, fatter, shorter, whatever, you may go, oh, I don't even notice it. So it's only hitting me when I grab it certain ways. If I just grab this knife naturally like that, I don't feel it. If I move it here, then it changes from it going in that little recessed area of my hand to now like it's kind of pushing into the pad. So now I feel it, but I wouldn't hold my knife that far back. I'd have it up there, and now I don't feel it. So there you have it. Sitivien, whatever, ST128. Really nice action, very smooth. I'm sure it'll break in nice. I said it was ball bearings, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to have to look at that and see. No, it does say liner lock ball bearing. So that is very smooth. I'll check the tension on that and adjust as needed. And that's another thing. When you get these knives, go over all the screws. I found a couple that were just a little loose. So I usually just back them out, put a little tiny bit of blue Loctite. Don't put red. Put blue Loctite. That's enough to keep them from walking out over time. But if you ever had to take it apart or disassemble it, you're not going to have to worry about stripping things. I double check all my knives. All of them. Always go over them, including like the Lion Steels are the nicer ones. you just never know. You got a Monday knife that's torqued properly, and then you got the Friday one, it's quitting time, and it's not. So the Chinese knives are no different. I do the same on every knife I buy. Doesn't matter how much I spent. I go over the screws, check them for tension, make sure everything's torqued properly, and put a little dollop of blue Loctite. But nice, sweet action. I like this. Very cool. Anyway, we'll have some more videos coming. I got some more motorcycle stuff coming too. Talk to you soon.